The Falkland Islands, a windswept wilderness and isolated outpost. Thousands of kilometers of rugged cliffs and unspoiled coastline provides a haven for millions of aquatic birds and amphibious mammals. From the vulnerable and innocent to the deadliest and most fearsome predators on Earth. There may be safety in numbers on dry land, but there's a battle for survival in the waters which surround these wild southern shores. Lying just over 1,300 kilometers from Antarctica, the Falklands is one of the most southerly island chains in the world. This remote archipelago is located 480 kilometers from the tip of South America. Its rugged beauty reveals a perpetual battle with the elements. Crashing waves leave scars on weather-beaten cliffs as high winds gust across a treeless horizon. Less than 5% of these 700 islands are inhabited by humans. And with no native land mammals or reptiles, the lifeless landscape appears almost barren. But looking out to sea tells a very different story. These turbulent coastal waters are teeming with life. Rockhopper penguins breed on the islands from October to April. They nest on cliff tops, giving them sanctuary from stormy seas. But first, they must make it to dry land. Enlarged sternums and fused rib cages allow them to land on hard rocks without harm. But this is just the start of a rockhopper's daily trial. Scaling the 100-meter cliffs to reach their colony is the biggest challenge. They're remarkable climbers, making short hops to get around. So it's not hard to see how rockhoppers got their name. Nerves of steel are needed to scale these treacherous cliffs. One slip here would see them falling to a rocky grave. Webbed feet and sharp claws give traction on steeper sections. For generations, millions of rockhopper feet have gouged grooves into the smooth, wet rocks, offering some extra grip, providing you stick to the path. Predatory seals would struggle to follow these courageous climbers. Falkland fur seals can reach 2 meters in length and weigh more than 150 kilograms, 50 times heavier than a rockhopper. Fur seals are able to run on all 4 flippers and have external ear flaps, as sea lions do. However, fur seals have an extra pair of crushing teeth. It looks like these plucky penguins have a death wish, hopping right through the middle of the seal colony. Approximately 15,000 fur seals make the Falklands their home, and many choose to haul out in this rocky bay. Rockhoppers are the smallest penguins on the islands, and surely the bravest. Nothing will stop these determined penguins reaching their breeding ground. Even a herd of seals blocking their path. But they're taking a calculated risk. Rockhoppers have been sharing this cove with fur seals for generations. Elsewhere, fur seals are known to attack and kill penguins. But this particular colony seems more tolerant than most. Rockhoppers breed at 35 sites in the Falklands. But by choosing New Island, this group of penguins have made life particularly hard for themselves. Over on Saunders Island, another colony of rockhoppers seems to have a much easier life. Just a short hop from their landing site is nature's own penguin spa. This freshwater spring allows the rockhoppers to rest and wash salt from their feathers before continuing their climb to the rookery. Splashing and drinking the cool, clean water is part of the daily ritual for many of the island's residents. But taking too long in the shower is against bathing etiquette. Back on New Island, the mountaineers are nearing their goal. Clumps of tussock grass crown the cliffs. The rockhoppers meander through the maze of tunnels created by these 2-meter-tall plants. After a long journey, these intrepid climbers finally summit, rejoining their colony. With over 300,000 pairs, rockhoppers are the most numerous penguin on the Falklands. This rookery alone holds 6,000 pairs, though some exceed 100,000. Not only do they return to the same breeding location each year, they return to exactly the same nests. Rockhoppers will lay 2 eggs. However, the first is often smaller than the second and is also last to hatch. The smaller chick rarely survives, so the parents usually end up raising just 1 fledgling. There can be as many as 3 nests per square meter. When space is such a squeeze, tempers can quickly fray. The surviving chicks have no choice but to grow up fast. Rockhopper penguins rely mostly on a diet of krill and squid. In a single feed, a hungry chick can consume over 10% of their body weight in part-digested seafood. Competition for a mate can also be fierce. Ecstatic displays are used to mark territory and warn others away. partners perform this act in unison to help strengthen their pair bond. Even within the safety of the colony, the threat of danger still hangs in the air. With a hawk on the hunt, chicks huddle together for safety. At this time of year, red-backed buzzards also have young mouths to feed. Rockhoppers share their colonies with a famous flying fisherman. King cormorants nest just a short pecking distance from their neighbours. Unlike rockhoppers, cormorants often have 3 mouths to feed. And more chicks need bigger nests. A good excuse for stealing your neighbour's bedding. With their time taken up at the nest, neither parent has time to go fishing. But that doesn't stop these hungry chicks from begging. With nothing left to give, their mother has no choice but to turn the other cheek. Black-browed albatross also join rockhoppers in dense colonies on the cliffsides, happily nesting beside their flightless friends. Most of their lives are spent at sea, but in September, adults return to raise their young, revisiting the same pot-shaped nests each year. These albatross can live for over 50 years, and usually won't breed until they're 10 years old. From the age of 2, they practice some of the most elaborate mating displays in the animal world, which will one day find them a mate for life. "70% of the world's black-browed albatross nest on the islands, with an estimated 500,000 pairs colonizing these breeding sites. And the reason lies just offshore. Cold currents off New Ireland's west coast support some of the richest fishing grounds in the world. Parents can fly over 300 kilometers on a single fishing trip, only visiting their chick every other day. On their return, they spend time getting reacquainted. After a little preening, they regurgitate a blend of seafood and a vitamin-rich oil, which is produced from a special gland in their stomachs. Chicks can put on a kilo of weight in a little over a week and will sit on the nest until around 16 weeks old, before making their maiden voyages out to sea. As adults, they could spend over 80% of their lives scanning the storm-tossed southern seas for food. They won't return to these cliffs for about a decade, until mature enough to breed. With a wingspan of up to 2.5 meters, they glide effortlessly above the oceans and are one of the most graceful birds on the planet. Sea Lion Island is one of the southernmost points of the archipelago. Nearly 8 kilometers long from east to west and about 2 kilometers wide, it is outlined by sheer cliffs and sandy bays. It's here that the world's largest amphibious mammal chooses to haul out. Southern elephant seals are the biggest of any seal species. Males can reach over 6 meters in length and weigh more than 4 tons, as much as a small truck. Elephant seals get their name from the male's trunk-like snout. These inflatable protrusions help amplify their roars, which can be heard over a kilometer away. They spend up to 10 months of the year at sea, only coming ashore to breed and shed their skins. These young males will spend the next few weeks on land while they molt. Adolescents hone their fighting skills in preparation for the day they'll challenge the dominant bull for a harem of their own. High-ranking males can father up to 100 pups each season, so they've plenty at stake. As the battles heat up, a group of spectators gathers. For now, they're just sparring, so there's no blood spilled. But while absorbed in their contest, this pair is oblivious of the submarine killers lurking in the shallows. Orca, the largest and most predatory of the dolphin family. Waiting to take advantage of any stray pups. Pods numbering 40 individuals are a mix of ages and sexes. The male's unmistakable dorsal fins grow to nearly 2 meters tall, while the female's smaller fins are sometimes mistaken for sharks. These killer whales are no less deadly and will prey on most sea life. But they specialize in taking seal pups from the water's edge. This pod knows exactly when the elephant seals are breeding and will visit the same beaches at the same time each year. They patrol the rocky coves and use shallow water hunting techniques to ambush pups which venture too far from their nursery pools. Killer by name, killer by nature. A trail of blood draws scavengers to the kill. But these apex predators haven't always had such a free rein. About a century ago, all whale species around the Falklands were considered a marine resource and hunted freely. Their thick blubber was harvested for oil and used as fuel for lamps and heating. Fortunately, no species became extinct before the industry here collapsed, and whale populations are now thought to have stabilized. Rusty boilers and abandoned whaling camps are all that remains of the Falklands whaling industry. Now there's another natural resource islanders use for heating, and it lies just beneath their feet. Peat consists of partially decayed plant matter and covers around 85% of the archipelago. It is often seen as the earliest stage in the formation of coal. Once cut, each 20-centimetre square block is left to dry for a whole year before being used. Many islanders rely on this vast and free resource to fuel their fires and cooking stoves. The heat from a kilo of peat equals that of around half a kilo of coal when burned. Nutrient-rich peat provides the perfect fertile soil for tussock grass. The layer beneath the grass can be 10 meters deep. Before it was cleared by the earlier settlers, much of the coastline was covered by this grass. Some of the plants are at least 200 years old and provide a perfect windbreak and shelter for nesting birds and penguin burrows. Penguins are masters at adapting to their environment, and these Falkland Island residents have made themselves quite at home. Magellanic penguins stand approximately 70 centimeters tall and weigh around 6 kilos. For 6 months of the year, they live, sleep, and eat on the waves before reuniting with the same breeding partner on dry land. Magellanics are one of the most faithful species in the animal kingdom. One recorded relationship spans 16 years. Research has shown, however, that couples who are unsuccessful in their attempts to hatch a chick will separate, divorcing each other to find new partners. Unlike all the island's other penguins that choose to nest in vast open colonies, Magellanics prefer a little more privacy. Of all the penguin species inhabiting the Falklands, Magellanics are the only ones that nest underground. They make their homes a little way inland, creating a safe hideaway from predators. This striated caracara is a member of the falcon family and one of the world's most intelligent birds of prey. It has a wingspan of over a meter in length, and though it's a swift aerial predator, chooses to spend a great deal of time on the ground. And this Magellanic burrow should be an easy target. With a young family nested inside, parents aggressively defend their dugouts against potential threats. But it's not only birds of prey trying to evict them. They must also see off these newlyweds in search of their first home. Donkey-like brays are used in courtship as well as in conflict. These calls have earned this penguin another name, the jackass. Magellanics are common on the Falklands and breed across the whole group of islands. One group living here among the tussock grass faces a number of obstacles on their early morning fishing trips. Unlike rockhoppers, Melanic penguins prefer to run and belly slide. For some, negotiating even a small jump proves challenging. Support and encouragement from another member of the group eventually pays off. Another flightless bird shares this coastline. Standing 25 centimeters tall, it weighs approximately 3.5 kilos, which makes it one of the largest ducks on the planet. The steamer duck's coastal habitat is hospitable all year round, making migration unnecessary. Falkland steamer ducks last took to the air several thousand years ago and have since become expert swimmers. Short, stubby wings help propel it across the waves, much like a paddle steamer, at speeds of up to 24 kilometers per hour. They appear more at home on the water, lacking the same grace on dry land. And try as they might, the laws of physics prevent them from taking off. Mating pairs are often aggressive and highly territorial. But these unattached youngsters are happy to gather in small flocks. Reduced wing size and a bigger body assists diving. And larger birds use less energy to regulate their body temperature. This rare bird is found nowhere else on Earth, making it one of the few endemic species on the Falklands. Further round the coast on Sea Lion Island, southern sea lions are preparing to breed. Over 5,000 have made the Falkland Islands their permanent home. With manes as majestic as their feline namesakes, and a roar to match. Adult males grow to just under 3 meters in length and can weigh up to 350 kilos, larger than their big cat counterparts. Southern sea lion females are around 3 times smaller than the males, the greatest size differential among all sea lion species. Successful males will see their pups being born in a year's time. At just a few days old, they already weigh around 15 kilograms. Sea lion milk contains around 30% fat, 10 times more nutritious than cow's milk. With little mouths to feed as well as her own, this mother heads off to forage. Pups and their mothers can be separated for up to 2 days at a time. Fortunately, when hunger kicks in, any teat will do. Awkward and cumbersome on dry land. In the water, sea lions are aquatic acrobats and master fishermen. She joins the others to form a pod which hunts as a group, fishing for anchovies. Schooling the fish into tightly packed bait balls. They can remain underwater for up to 40 minutes before they must surface for air. Young males keen to start families of their own patrol the breeding colonies. Just 6 days after giving birth, the females are ready to mate again. Seeing one of the bulls otherwise engaged, the outsider makes his move. His mission is short-lived. Adolescent intruders are seen as a threat by all the breeding colony bulls. Sea lions patrol the entire coast of the Falklands. Even the most remote islands receive year-round visits. The Falkland archipelago is made up of two main islands, East and West Falkland, and over 700 smaller islands and islets, comprising a land area of just over 12,000 square kilometers, approximately the size of Connecticut. The Falklands landscape was sculpted by the harsh polar climate of the last ice age, which ended around 10,000 years ago. These rivers of rocks are known as stone runs. They were formed when the freeze-thaw cycles cracked and broke up the bedrock, creating fragmented quartzite boulders of between 2 and 5 meters across. They're one of the most striking geological features on the Falklands, and at over 4 kilometers long and 400 meters wide, they're the longest stone runs in the world. These dramatic geological features fascinated the naturalist Charles Darwin when he visited these South Atlantic islands in 1833. He thought they'd been created by ground movements during earthquakes, though we now know he was mistaken. One of the accurate discoveries Darwin made was that the types of fossils he found on the islands were very different from those he found in Patagonia, just 500 kilometers away. In fact, they are more similar to those found in Africa, providing evidence that these rocks originated thousands of kilometers from the South American continent, where they now rest. Most of the natural vegetation here is grassland, as the Falklands lack indigenous tree cover. Much of the landscape is given to agriculture, which forms a major part of the island's economy, and it's dominated by sheep farming. Around 500,000 sheep are scattered across the archipelago, but for every walking ball of wool, there are approximately 2 shuffling towers of feathers. King penguins. At nearly a meter high and weighing around 15 kilos, they are the second largest penguins on Earth. Here on East Falkland, around 1,000 of these regal birds return each year to breed and raise a single chick. Preening is essential for staying in top condition and, of course, looking good to attract a mate. A special gland at the base of the tail secretes oil, which is used to waterproof feathers and skin. Once a year, adults molt. Old plumage is pushed out in patches once new feathers beneath are fully grown. So the penguins remain warm throughout the month-long process. King penguins are one of the only species to have more than one partner in their lifetime, giving them plenty of opportunity to practice courtship rituals. This male's trumpet-like calls also help attract female attention. She confirms her interest, and the pair embark on a courtship walk. This king appears to have found his queen, but it seems she has another suitor. It isn't just males who fight each other over mates. King penguin girls do battle over boys too. Outflippered, the challenger backs down, leaving the couple to synchronize and consummate their bond away from the crowd. A single fertilized egg will be incubated for around 55 days. Carefully balanced on top of their feet, it is kept warm using a patch of loose skin called a brood patch. Kings have the longest breeding cycle of all penguin species, taking 15 months from laying to fledging. These chicks are about a year old. They're so visually different from the grown-ups, 19th century scientists classified these youngsters as a separate woolly penguin species. Parents are able to identify their chick by its unique modulated whistle. Communicating hunger is crucial when entirely dependent on adults for food. Couples share parenting duties equally. They'll take turns to stay at home and look after their chick, while their partner goes off for a day's fishing. Fish and squid make up the majority of the king penguin's diet. They can travel more than 300 kilometers offshore to reach their feeding grounds, and use a swimming technique known as porpoising to breathe while maintaining speed. The fishing party returns to the sound of excitement from hungry beaks. But not everyone has cause to celebrate. This youngster hasn't had a meal in weeks. He appears to have been abandoned. The fate of his parents remains a mystery, but many of those who head out to sea fail to return. These king penguins are reluctant to enter the water, and with good reason. A predator is on the prowl, and penguins are a favorite treat. But one appears unaware of the threat. Melanic penguins are around half the size of their regal counterparts, but to a hungry sea lion, they're still a tasty snack. The The ocean is the great provider for all who live on these islands. Though each must conquer their fears if they are to feed. For now, perhaps, it's not worth the risk. On remote islands, many inhabitants have no choice but to be partly self-sufficient. Each year, around 2,000 gentoo penguin eggs are taken and used for food. Special licenses allow islanders to collect a strictly limited number for personal consumption. Gentoos are one of the few penguins known to lay a repeat clutch should they lose the first one. So theirs are the most common eggs to be taken. And whilst their population numbers do fluctuate, they have averaged about 100,000 pairs over the last 75 years. Gentoo penguins stand approximately 75 centimeters tall, making them the third largest species. They may only achieve a bronze medal for height, but in a swimming contest, they take the gold. Gentoos are the fastest swimming birds in the world, reaching a top speed of up to 40 kilometers an hour. Torpedo-like bodies and flattened flippers enable them to fly underwater. Lobster krill makes up the majority of their diet. Both parents go fishing about 16 kilometers from the colony, and they'll each make up to 450 dives per trip. After 8 hours at sea, the fishing fleet returns. Their bellies heavy with fish. Unlike other penguin species, gentoos raise 2 chicks at a time. Having 2 mouths to feed not only doubles the parent's fishing duties, it creates another problem. 3-week-old chicks constantly beg for food, so knowing which was fed last and which is hungriest is anyone's guess. But gentoo parents have a unique trick up their sleeves. A game called chick chase. This high-speed challenge ensures meals are shared equally between offspring. The fastest and most determined chick is usually the hungriest. The less persistent sibling gives up, ensuring the needier chick gets his share. Not all members of the colony are capable of raising chicks yet. Gentoos can't reproduce until they're 2 years old. Even so, nest building is a skill worth practicing. As is getting to know the dangers of colony life. Caracaras are able to walk and run more efficiently than other raptors, as their talons are flatter in shape. Although primarily scavengers, they'll attempt to seize unguarded penguin chicks and abandoned eggs. Cracking this shell proves harder than it looks, especially with beak and claws better tuned for tearing flesh. Another opportunist has nest raiding down to a fine art. The Falkland skua could teach the caracara a thing or two about cracking eggs. Hovering just out of reach above the gentoo's heads, this skua takes an aerial approach. A fiercely hooked beak is the perfect tool for piercing shells with a single strike. The midday summer sun approaches 25 degrees and takes its toll on the gentoo chicks. Thick layers of insulating fur and fat may protect them at sea, but can have the opposite effect on dry land. Heat stroke is an invisible killer. Panting helps regulate body temperature to some degree, as does exposing their feet, but provides little relief from the relentless sun. The heat is proving too much for this youngster. Caracaras are quick to take advantage of the weak and defenseless. The chicks' parents do all they can to fend off the assault. But as others join the attack, resistance is futile. A large penguin chick could keep these scavengers fed for many days. The day starts early for all Falkland Island penguins. Adult gentoos make their way down to the sea. Their chicks have become more demanding, so parents now make daily fishing trips. Back at the colony, the youngsters deter predators by huddling together, an act known as crashing. The safety in numbers approach also applies at the water's edge. A sea lion launches a surprise attack, causing confusion as the gentoos scatter. But this amphibious mammal is a persistent hunter, especially in shallow water. The gentoos cautiously approach the water's edge. The coast looks clear. But the sea lion has a master plan. He launches his ambush. The penguins scatter, trying to outrun their pursuer. one gets separated from the pack. In these turbulent waters, not a scrap of food will go to waste. These remote islands provide a haven for wildlife. And for some, a daily battle to survive. A bountiful ocean offers lifelines to many, and the greatest threats to a few. Not all will survive to support the next generation, but for each and every loss, there are others who gain, ensuring an abundance of life is always sustained on these wild and windswept Penguin Isles.